time this video is posted, the outcome for the Timberwolves and Thunder game will probably be final, but that's not what this video is about. Honestly, what this video is about, truthfully, is the storylines that I think will be intriguing to follow along going into the 2023 NBA playoffs. And action for the playoffs officially begin tomorrow. These are not in any particular order, but they kind of are at the same time. I'll go with number one is how far will the regular season MVP potentially go? If you look at the recent trend of how the MVP has gone, their success has not resonated into the NBA playoffs. Joker is the back-to-back. He's going for his third time in a row. If we look through his playoff history, it hasn't been that successful. In 2022, he was bounced in round one. And in 2021, Phoenix Suns sweep the Nuggets. In 2020, Giannis was the MVP. They lost to Miami 4-1 in the semis. In 2019, he lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors 4-2. And then in 2018 with James Harden, they lost in 7 games to the eventual champs in the Western Conference Final. But a bold prediction would be to say whoever ends up winning it, they're not going to get that far. Just by... Again, they could totally break this narrative and win the whole thing, but just by looking at the previous 5 seasons, the way it looks is they're going to get bounced in the first or the second round. Another storyline is Phoenix the heavy favorites in the West. Right now, the West, I think personally, is honestly up for grabs. Denver is number 1, Memphis is number 2, and Sacramento is number 3. But when you look at these squads, can you really say that these teams have one hand on the trophy and seem poised with enough experience to go on a deep playoff run? With the new addition of Kevin Durant, the Phoenix Suns have been considered title favorites in the West when they're still the likes of the Warriors, and who knows how far LeBron's going to take the Lakers this year as the 7th seed, so we never know. Speaking of LeBron, my next storyline would be how far can LeBron carry this squad? The Lakers have had an awful, I will say it, awful season. They've won some, they've lost some, and they've just been hovering around that 500 mark, and they have had a lot of bad outings. Now, a lot of this was due to load management, injuries, trades, just a lot of outside things. So the basketball hasn't been there, but when these guys are together and healthy, they have been able to play good basketball. Now the question is can LeBron get his guys together and try to put 4 wins in a row against Memphis and move on to the next round? And then the next, and then the next, until they're eventually eliminated. Can the Celtics shake the ghosts of the 2022 NBA Finals? The Celtics were a team poised to host the Larry O'Brien Trophy last year as the Eastern Conference champs. But after taking a 2-1 series lead on the Golden State Warriors, they disappeared. And Jason Tatum did not show up in a lot of those closing games in that series. And the Celtics were carried a lot by Marcus Smart at times, Al Horford, Jaylen Brown. So the question is, now that they've been there and they've had the experience of playing in the big games, is that narrative of, oh, these guys can't show up in the big games, is that going to rear its ugly head again in these playoffs when the likely outcome is it looks like they're going to play the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals? This is a fun one for Bucks fans out there. Is it time for Giannis to get his second ring? A lot of people will say that his ring has an asterisk on it because Phoenix isn't a real team. You know, the history of Chris Paul blowing leads in the postseason, or, well, if Kevin Durant's shoe size was about a foot smaller, he would have sunk that 3 over Tucker, and they would have eventually gone and played the Hawks in the Eastern Conference Final. As the number 1 seed in the East, with a healthier squad that's more experienced and an MVP frontrunner in Giannis, this team seems poised to go on another deep playoff run. This is an interesting one. A lot of people have written off the Brooklyn Nets, but how will the new and revamped after the post all-star trades of Kevin Durant and Kyrie when they skip town, how will the Brooklyn Nets fare out? And then my last storyline, but it's honestly one of the biggest storylines because it's something that a lot of people have been talking about this season. How are the Warriors going to deal with their home and road splits? This team has been able to play competitive, tight-knit basketball against high-tier playoff caliber teams at home and be able to win in dominant fashions, but then they'll go on the road and they'll play below 500, mediocre, really bad, terrible teams and absolutely lay an egg and lose 2 in a row, 3 in a row. And so it makes you wonder, if the Warriors are eliminated in this playoffs, is it going to be on the road because of their road struggles during the regular season? They were 11-30 on the road, so it makes you wonder. And they will not have home court advantage throughout the playoffs, so it makes you wonder. If they steal one, can they steal two, three? Can they steal a series on the road? I trust Curry. I trust Clay. I think these guys can get it done, but it makes you wonder. So those are some of the storylines that I think could follow this 2023 playoffs. Hopefully it's a good one. I think there's going to be a lot of intriguing matchups. I think there's going to be good basketball. I'm pretty pleased with the teams that are in the playoffs this time around. And so we'll just have to see what happens. I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.